I will enter his gates.
Dr. Success, we are a group of concerned Cameroonians who are interested to know what is currently happening in Cameroon, especially the peaceful protests in Bamenda, Boya and Kumba. What do you have to say?
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that a group of people are protesting, carrying out a peaceful protest to claim their birthright. And the regime of Mr. Biya has sent the police, the gendarme, to brutalize, to dehumanize, to abuse, to rape, and even kill some. Innocent students have been detained in the Boya, from the University of Boya. And our lawyers were rough-handled. Our lawyers were treated like criminals. They were treated like nobodies, simply because they went to the street on a peaceful protest to refuse the injustice that Mr. Biya and his regime is trying to impose on us, the Southern or the British Cameroonians.
What is this right they are claiming?
Now, this right we are claiming is our birthright. Now, before I state this birthright, let me quickly give to you some events that happened in history. Though I'm not a very good history student, but I think I can try my best to share a little of what I know about the history of Cameroon. Now, before the First World War, the geographical location called Cameroon was occupied by the German. Now, after the First World War, the German left Cameroon, and it was now occupied by the French and the British. Now, the French occupied the French section of the Cameroon where we are today, and the British occupied the English section of the Cameroon where I happen to come from. Okay, that explains the reason why I can speak English, and my other brothers in Douala, in Yaoundé, in Bafoussam, Gomsamba and all the like, they can speak French because their own territories were occupied by the French and ours were occupied by the British. So, now, these were separate states that were having their own system of operation, complete different system of functioning, complete system of governance, complete system of education. It was completely different from that of the French people. Now, on the 11th of February 1961, after the La République du Cameroun got their independence on 1st January 1960, 11th of February 1961, the United Nations began to propose that these states and communities should come together. Now, the northern part of Cameroon, which was under the British, decided to vote to join the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then, the southern part, which is the southwest and northwest, decided to come together with the La République du Cameroun for a conference, a roundtable conference, where they decided our future. Now, this conference took place in Fumba from the 16th to the 21st of July 1961, where they decided to form a federation. Now, what is a federation? A federation is a system of government where we have one head of state, but every state or every region manages their own resource on their own. In fact, they are autonomous. Okay? They manage their own resource on their own. They control. They are self-governing. But they have one headquarters. In other words, we were supposed to have Yaoundé as the headquarters of Cameroon, but the British Cameroon were supposed to manage their own government and their own resource without being influenced by Yaoundé. That was the first agreement that was had. Now the second agreement was that you, the French Cameroon, you have to keep your French language, and I, the British Cameroonian, have to keep my English language. The third agreement was that you, the French Cameroonian, you have to keep your culture, and I, the English Cameroonian, have to also keep my culture. The fourth agreement they had was that you, the French Cameroonian, you have to keep your educational system, you have to keep your judicial system, and I, the British Cameroonian, have to keep my educational and the judicial system as well. So every party were to keep their system, but we have one federation. So then it now became the Federal Republic of Cameroon. Now, before, the flag of the Federal Republic of Cameroon had 2 stars on the green side. You know, our flag is green, red, yellow with a yellow star at the middle. That was not the initial flag we had. So when we became a federation, the flag of Cameroon, or the Federal Republic of Cameroon, in fact the name changed. We're no longer British Cameroon. The French Cameroon were no longer French Cameroon. It now became the Federal Republic of Cameroon, having one flag with 2 stars, green, red, yellow, and 2 stars at the level at where there is green. Now, later on, in 1972, Amadou Ahidjo changed the name from Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon, and now remove 1 star from the 2 stars and took the remaining 1 star and placed it at the middle of the red. So while we were having this Puma conference, he had hidden agenda. He now moved now from United Republic of Cameroon to Republic of Cameroon. We now realize that the Anglophones or the British Cameroonians have been abused for many years. So what are these rights, as you rightly ask, that we want, that we are claiming? The first right we are claiming is the fact that our language, English, must not be killed. Number 2, our judicial system, the common law, must not be killed. Number 3, our educational system must not be killed. Number 4, our culture must not be killed. The problem that brought about this protest is the fact that first, the lawyers went to strike because the Ohada law came only in French language, and they wanted to impose it in the Southern Cameroon territory, which is against the agreement that was had in the Fumba conference in 1961. That is a big problem. Now, you cannot be talking to me about peace or unity when you have stolen my birthright. For us to have peace, you have to return first my birthright before you talk about peace. You can't come to my house and steal what belongs to me, then you come and meet me and ask us to have peace. The first step towards peace is for you to return what belongs to me. Now, we have realized that there's a lot of manipulation, a lot of discrimination over the Southern or British Cameroonians for so many years now. For instance, Sonara is based in Limbe, southwest region of Cameroon. But do you know, for more than 30 years now, Sonara has never had a general manager who is an English-speaking person or who is an Anglophone? It's a problem. It's against federalism. Now, do you know that when they drain fuel from Sonara in Limbe, they transport it to SDP in Douala? All the filling stations or the fuel stations in Southwest will have to travel to Douala to get fuel from SDP. Now, do you know what that means? It's just like I come to your house and dig a well in your parlor, then fetch water from your parlor, then close the well with my lock, then carry the water to my house. Then whenever you need water to drink, you will have to pay transfer and come and knock my door to to give you drinking water that you got from my house. What an abuse. We can't take that anymore. The abuse is too much. It is an abuse for a bilingual country to have French as the only official language in the military, in the police, in the gendarme. It's an abuse for a bilingual country to have only French written in their currency. It's an abuse for a bilingual country that the president has been for almost 35 years cannot express himself in English. It's an abuse for a bilingual country that presidential decrees are signed only in French, cannot be signed in English, only translated in English. And most French people, they see Anglophones as a second-class citizens. It is displayed in nearly everywhere. Most of the civil servants who are sent to work in Sonara, most of the people who work in Sonara, they are French people. More than 60% are Francophones who work in Sonara. It is an abuse. So this right must be returned to us. So the teachers and the lawyers went to the street to claim our right. And they were beaten, they were harassed, they were abused, some were raped, some their properties were collected, some are detained, some have lost their life for simply trying to claim the right that belongs to us.
What are the Anglophones expecting to achieve in this protest?
We are expecting to achieve at least two things. First, we return back to the federation, which we think that is going to be for the favor of the Biya regime. We return back to the federation. And if that federation cannot be granted, then we'll go for separation, complete separation.
Do the British Cameroonians have a right to demand for independence? If yes, explain.
Yes, the answer is a big yes. We have the right to demand for independence because first, before we became the Federal Republic of Cameroon, we were a state. We were a state on its own, with our own system. And when the Fumba conference took place, and the agreement was made between the La République du Cameroon and the British Cameroon, as a matter of fact, there was no legal document that was placed at the level of the United Nations to legalize our coming together. So what we are doing, what the British Cameroon is having with the La République du Cameroon is not a marriage, it's a come we stay. A Frenchman called it concubinage. That is to say, we don't have a marriage certificate. So we are not at this point talking about divorce, because divorce only comes into play when a marriage certificate exists. So no marriage certificate exists between the La République du Cameroon and the British Cameroon. So we have the legal right to demand for our independence, to return to where we were, to what we were before now. Now, this explains the reason why you can see on the 20th May 2010, when the 64th President of the General Assembly of the United Nations, Ali Triki, came to the Unity Palace in Yaoundé to celebrate with the Cameroonians. His birthday gift to Mr. Biya was two maps, that of the British Cameroon and that of the Republic of Cameroon, meaning under Mr. Biya there are two separate nations. So we, the British Cameroonians, have the legal right to demand for our total independence.
Since the unity between French and British Cameroon had no legal agreement at the level of the United Nations, what step has Southern Cameroon taken in the past to gain her independence?
We have taken so many steps, But I will state one of those legal steps that have been taken in the late 90s to gain our independence. First, by law, by international law, no group of people have the right to lay a complaint at the level of the United Nations if they are not a member state of the United Nations. Now, since the British Cameroon is not a member state of the United Nations, the only thing we could do to approach the United Nations with our legal complaint was to use our neighbor Nigeria, which they are our best witness, our most authentic witness of our state. Now, a letter was addressed to the Nigerian government in the late 90s by the Southern Cameroonians, requesting for the government of Nigeria to take our case to the United Nations so that our independence can be validated. Now, the Nigerian government judged this case. It went to the Abuja High Court in Nigeria, and they judged it. And on the 25th of March 2002, the Abuja High Court gave a judgment ordering the Nigerian government to carry on the case of the Southern Cameroonian to the United Nations. And in case you want to find out the reference of this Abuja High Court judgment, it is FHC/ABJ/CS/30/2002. That is the reference of the Abuja High Court judgment concerning the Southern Cameroon. This is one of the major steps that have been taken so far, legally speaking, to ensure our independence.
If the British Cameroon gain their independence today, who will be their president?
Oh, wonderful. We have a lot of potential British Cameroonians who can lead any country, including the United States of America. And I feel that the first thing first, the independence should be gotten first. And when that is done, we could as well organize an in-house election among ourselves and select whoever will be our leader. So that's not a problem. There are a lot of potential people in the British Cameroon who can lead. I mean, lead very well. Exemplary leadership. So, we have them plenty. Even you can lead.
What role does the church in Cameroon and her prophets have to play in all this?
I think the church in Cameroon and the prophets of God or the prophetesses of God in Cameroon, they have a major role to play. Just as we saw in the Bible. You see, let's take a perfect example. What happened in the nation of Israel is exactly what is happening with the British Cameroonians today. Israel were a state or a nation that were inside another nation. They were marginalized by the Egyptians for 430 years. Now, God had to deliver them through his servant, the prophet Moses. So there are a lot of prophets of God in Cameroon who are supposed to stand up and speak against the injustices of Mr. Biya and his regime. The prophets of God and the servants of God in this nation must stand up. Because one of the major reasons why God placed prophets in every nation is not for a congregation only. It's for that nation and for that generation. The Bible says in Hosea chapter 12 verse 13, it said, by a prophet the Lord took Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet the Lord established them. So if the British Cameroonians must be free from this marginalization or this slavery or this torment from the regime of Mr. Biya or the Republic of Cameroon, the prophets of God must play a vital role. I believe that the prophets of God have the role to play against anyone that wants to oppress the weak. Prophets of God are representatives of God. They speak on behalf of heaven. I don't think heaven can be silenced to see the strong messing up the weak. Heaven cannot be quiet. And the only medium by which heaven can speak is through servants of God in Cameroon. And if the servants of God in Cameroon are quiet, God is disappointed. The Bible says in the book of Jeremiah, it says, you servants of God, you are my battle axe and my weapons of war. In other words, God is not going to come down to fight injustice. God is not going to come down to say no to evil. God has positioned you, servant of God, wherever you are in the territory of Cameroon and even outside Cameroon, to be able to tell the Pharaoh of this nation Cameroon that enough is enough. Assuming Moses did not make a statement, Israel would have been in captivity right up till today. Moses had the audacity, the authority, the brutality and the ruggedity to address Pharaoh and tell him, let my people go. So you servants of God, all of us have the responsibility to tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Thank you.